effect. And also anything negative I do, its consequence will be lost, so I don't really have to fear doing something negative, which is, you know, it's a very prisoning thing. It makes you helpless in a way, you'd be swept along. So, but disbelieving that won't help. You have to look and see that and understand that. So this is the great practice of self-observation and self-exploration. And you know, there are some marvelous ways. The Tibetans have preserved the Indian tradition of doing this in a marvelous way. But all the Buddhist traditions have some form of it. And that's really critical. That's the critical wisdom that liberates from suffering. When we really understand the self, when the self in a way becomes transparent, and we realize that there is no absolute self, only the relational self, which is a kind of infinite continuity, and is therefore infinitely interconnected with other beings. And the sense of boundary between self and other is only arbitrary and relational and temporary, and therefore ultimately we are the same as other beings, but not necessarily relationally. So it's not some sloppy soup that we're all kind of one glop where nobody's present. We also have sort of our differences, and we have our relationally, and therefore we are responsible to making our contribution to others, rather than we're somehow all one and therefore everything doesn't matter. It's a wrong way of thinking of unity. So, you know, it's unity and diversity. It's a complex, in other words. It's sensitive to complexity, enlightenment. I like to call it the tolerance, the ultimate tolerance of cognitive dissonance, between being one with all beings and also being oneself, making a special contribution to them. And I guess when you become a Buddha, maybe the hope is that that's so unified that you are one at the same time as you are making a special contribution, let's hope. So that it's sort of effortless in a certain way, you know what I mean? There's no stress about it. That's the ultimate state, which is inconceivable to us, really, because either we feel one or we feel not one, you know. And we oscillate kind of when we're not fully enlightened. But the idea of fully enlightened is where there's no more oscillation, because you're completely experiencing yourself as one, and yet you're acting separately. It's like a trained juggler has both hands. But they're doing very different things. And he's somehow trained where they can compass like completely different movements of the two, which normally we could never conceive of doing. Like the way they juggle all their 50 different things. No way. But they do, and yet they are one. The hands are part of the same brain, the same mind, and yet they're operating seemingly totally independently to us. So then that means that, of course, Buddhahood is not even like that, because Buddha never operates us, because Buddha's not omnipotent. You know, no Buddha, I mean, any Buddha, there are millions of them too, but they're not omnipotent. If they were, we'd all be Buddhas, because they would have just made us Buddhas. They would have eradicated our ignorant identity, and we would all have Buddha identities, just boom, like that. Because nothing would stop them if they had that power, because they love us, because they're so happy that they naturally want us to be happy. That's what love means. You want the other beloved to be happy. So they wouldn't withhold happiness from us if they had the ability to just overwhelm our unhappiness with an energy of happiness. They would. But we are capable of resisting bliss and turning it into a nightmare by fighting it, because it's such a strong energy. So therefore it has to be our own opening from within. It's like you can't take a flower bud and just wrench it open into being a fully bloomed thing. It has to bloom itself, you know. You can nurture it in many ways, but you can't just rip the bud open. You just hash it, right? So that's the Buddha's limitation, in a way, of the limitation of the Buddha's compassion. We have to respond to it. Gone, the whole thing. All life on it anyway. I mean, the rocks will still be there, but all life is gone. And we haven't done it. Although many people tried and wanted to. Crazy people who were so miserable and who thought, of course, nothing could be worse than nothing, and that's what they would be, and therefore are reckless. You know, Dr. Strangelove types, you know, and they're still doing it, but yet they never manage to destroy us. Now they may, but you know, the thing from our point of view, from the point of view of Buddhist science, not religion, but science, we would all immediately create the same environment. Because, you know, we would immediately find there's infinite planetary options. Well, the indestructible drop is a way of, you could say it was the soul of any living being, not just human. And it's thought of as a drop because that's kind of a metaphor, although they say like the size of a mustard seed, which is just considered something very small. But even that may be too big. And we have to be, it's kept esoteric actually, in the sort of esoteric, as I said, esoteric only means like for the sort of scientist types in the older cultures. And because it could be too easily reified by the ordinary mind into some frozen fixed identity thing, like a little tiny barcode, a little platinum barcode that's the fixed immortal soul in the context of something that never changes, which is what a lot of the Indian scientists, like the Sankhya, there's other schools in ancient India at Buddha's time, and they thought of it like that. And probably the Western Christians and things think like that. They think there's this thing, the spark of God, you know, God puts it in you. And so God never changes. He's like something. And so it's just a little dipped in there or something temporarily while you like struggle around and flagellate yourself in this miserable place. And then as long as you say, hey, hello, hello, hello to God, and oh, I love you and I'm your slave, then it'll be plucked out by him and put up back on the shelf or in the test tube or wherever he keeps the barcodes. I mean, it's just so silly, the whole idea. But that's what we use to ratify our visceral sense that there's an absolute thing in here that's Bob Thurman, that like, don't anybody mess with it. And you know, it's going to eat everything else alive, or it's terrified of everybody else, and it's freaked out because the whole universe is after it, and obviously it's never going to win. So it has a fantasy that there's a big God who is bigger than the universe that I'm part of, and then that'll win, which is just a ridiculous psychotic behavior. It's a psychotic ideology, psychotic interpretation of theisms. Theism doesn't have to be like that. When they say God is infinite, everywhere, you can't know what it is, then you're not saying it's some little dinky thing absolutely apart from everywhere that has a barcode. Do you know what I mean? But then everybody tries to impose that, and they say, oh, it's a Hebrew barcode, it's a Sanskrit barcode, it's a Chinese barcode, it's a whatever. And they try to lay some code that they think they can control and that they can appropriate, because it's that inner egotism that is projecting this. So, you know, the projecting God as an egomaniac is what tribal people used to do. And the actual Hebrew breakthrough, that there's this vast thing that nobody knows what it is, which is the liberating idea in Islam and in the Judeo-Christian and monotheistic traditions, and the Hindus have it. That's the good side. Then they go back and say, but no, it's my thing, and then I can kill all of you. Then that's just ridiculous, you know. But unfortunately, they do it. So the indestructible drop must not be appropriated as sort of the ratifier of my sense of being somehow absolutely me and unconnected from everything else. That's why it's esoteric. So in a way, drop is a misleading. It's just all terms are metaphoric. So drop is a little misleading in the sense that it's a continuum of subtle energy that's always changing, and is always, you know, the idea in chemistry of an enzyme, something that catalyzes a reaction in other things without ever changing itself, is of course totally irrational and totally stupid. Nothing can interact with something else without changing. And besides, on the quantum level, nobody knows what is bubbling in there, and everything is changing all the time, even though it seems to be static and steady from a certain perspective. So some idea that an unchanging thing that's interacting is again a kind of, that's where your common sense can say, well, they're doing that because it's convenient for their mathematics or their thing, but actually they're delusional in thinking that way, because there's nothing that doesn't change. Everything is unstable. So, so the indestructible drop is a way of referring to the fact that we are these infinite continuities with a beginningless past, which means we have been everywhere and done everything, all of us. We have available to us, therefore, the ability to identify with all other beings, because we've been every kind of other being. And we will be every other kind too. And we don't want to do that involuntarily anymore, because we don't want to suffer anymore being fodder and cannon fodder for others, and we don't want to harm anymore, whereas the two go together. Do you follow me? We want to evolve toward where we embrace everything and therefore can't harm any of it. And then we are optimal in our relationship to it by being released from any sort of suffering ourselves and feeling completely blissful, attuning to the infinite energy of everything, so that there's no scarcity at all, and that infinite energy is perceived as a bliss, what they call bliss void indivisible. That's what we want.